Hello and welcome to the Morning Serve, brought to you by 9 Now. You can catch the biggest moments of the Australian Open as it comes to a close, live and free on 9 Now. I'm Nick McArdle. This is John Millman. Johnny, good to see you. Semi-final day for the men, massive.
Yeah, huge. Cannot wait for it. We've got a couple of incredible matchups. All the players have played some great tennis to get to this stage, and it's business end now.
All right, let's have a look at what's on the menu for you on 9. And it's Djokovic and Zverev, and Shelton and Sinner. So we're going to talk about both of those matches in just a moment. But first up, Alex De Minaur out of the back of the Jannik Sinner loss. And I say loss, in many respects, he was outclassed.
Yeah, he was. He was outplayed, and I think Alex would be the first to say that. In fact, he did so in his post-match press conference. A few things went against him. First of all, the conditions. Nighttime match, it had cooled down significantly, and I noticed that the temperatures really changed here as opposed to what it was a few days ago when it was warm. You got that lift in the court, that energy, that bounce, that speed in the court. As soon as the sun went down, there was a changing of conditions, and it became like a European indoor tournament, even though the roof was open. And Jannik plays so well in those conditions. And the reason why he plays so well in those conditions is because you can't get it out of his strike zone. And Jannik, in his strike zone, which is at hip height on the forehand and backhand wing, is easily the best ball striker in the world, in my opinion. So Alex couldn't hurt him. He wasn't able to get the balls penetrating through the court. Wasn't able to win any free points.
So for those of us who, barely can swing a racket, to be in the world top 10 is like, that's just unbelievable. Alex De Minaur's there, so now he wants to get better. He's aiming for top 5, crack the top 3, be number 1 in the world, perhaps, one day. What does he have to do? What does 2025 for a start look like for Alex De Minaur?
Well, first of all, I think the avenue to top 5 is quite simple. First of all, have your top 18 countable tournaments being played, and that means that he can't get injured. So how the tennis tournament system works, you've got your 18 countable tournaments, but there are mandatory tournaments in there. If you don't play those mandatory tournaments, you get 0 pointers. Now, Alex De Minaur, he was injured for the Canada tournament, which we saw, the Masters, which we saw Alexei Popyrin win, and Shanghai, both on the hard courts, both on surfaces that would suit Alex, but because he couldn't play it because of injury, that hip injury that he sustained at Wimbledon, that held on through the course of US Open, made it a bit worse at the US Open, he had to withdraw from those tournaments. So he's got 2 big, fat duck eggs on his best 18 tournaments. So as soon as he counts them and gets some results there, I naturally will see him climb up the rankings. So that's the good news.
But he's also got points to defend, right? So there's pressure comes with that as well.
There are points to defend, especially at the Grand Slams, where he's now made 4 quarterfinals in a row. At the Masters events, I believe that there's some untapped potential there. I think he needs to capitalize there. In terms of his game, yeah, he needs to keep making improvements to his game. And we saw that last night. There's layers and elements to the game he needs to improve. And if he does so, he'll climb up the rankings.
We hear about football coaches talk about, reviews. We're going to get together and we're going to review hard. What does a review look like, in this case for Alex De Minaur, but more generally for tennis players after a loss like that?
Yeah, you'll watch a bit of footage. You'll have some honest discussions. It normally takes a few days. And I doubt Alex would have he would have tried to forget it. It's really hard to, but he would have tried to have wiped the match from memory last night, have a good night's sleep. And today, he'll reconvene with his coaching team and they'll talk about it and they'll make a plan moving forward. I think the really positive thing for Alex is he joins the Davis Cup team now, and we know he plays great at Davis Cup success. He's got the support network of his Davis Cup teammates. It's a different environment. All of a sudden you go from this huge pressure cooker of an individual sport back into a team sport, which is very unusual as a tennis player. And you can really lean on your teammates to get you through what was a tough time last night. It was tough, and he even mentioned that. But he now gets to join the team, and I think they'll lift him, and he'll get that confidence back nice and quick.
One last quick one on this, and that was the way in which he's copped a bit on social media, which is, he was out there. He was having a red-hot crack. That was clear for everyone to see. That was surprising. But also the fact that he replied to that social media was surprising. Did you get surprised by that?
Yeah, look, I think you probably leave those ones alone because given even my history, you never win an argument with a keyboard warrior. But there's so many people in this day and age, through whether it's through X or Twitter or any of those other social media channels, that now think that they're experts on everything. And there's plenty of them that exist in the tennis world. You know, if they were to pick up a racket, I'm sure they can't even swing one, but I think you don't get involved in that. And I'm sure Alex is probably thinking back now. He's probably a little bit emotional. He'll pull back now and he'll just focus at the job on hand, which is hitting tennis balls.
I hope he does know that I reckon Australia was right behind him. Yes, it was disappointing, but there was no lack of respect for what he achieved last night. It was an unbelievable occasion. Djokovic and Zverev, the one of the semis. Zverev is 0-3 against Djokovic at Grand Slams. That in itself, has that become a mental hurdle? Is that an issue for Alexander Zverev?
Yeah, and the record's a little bit different outside of the Grand Slams. He has beaten him before in the best of 3 set format, but of course it does. You want to be going in with winning form at these big tournaments over the best of 5, which we know Novak is one of the best to have ever done it in that format. So it is a bit of a mental hurdle. I think it's more of a mental hurdle that he hasn't won one of these, though. He desperately wants to win a Grand Slam. You've got to remember, and I remember being at tournaments really early on when I just finished school, Brisbane Internationals, when Misha Zverev, his brother, was on the tour, and Alex was still, a young kid, and he was out there with his mum drilling that backhand, which he attributes to her because that thing is absolutely as pure as butter. So he's drilling that backhand, and everyone, even at that young age, said, watch out for this kid. He's on his way. Then he comes on, has a prolific junior career, wins a junior Australian Open. This kid's on his way. He's a future Grand Slam champion. Well, he's made that step now into the men's, and he's been knocking on the door for so long, and now people start talking about, is he the best player ever not to have won a Grand Slam? And he's right up there. So I think that's probably where the pressure lies. Not necessarily the head-to-head record with Novak Djokovic, but it's all that extra baggage that he's carrying around, being one of the best to ever do it to have not won a Grand Slam.
And he has come off his best year. So ranked number 2 in the world. He had an outstanding 2024. You think about the opportunities that he's had throughout his career. Is this the best opportunity so far?
I think it is. I think he's a better version of himself when he sustained that horrific injury when he was previously a world number 2. And he did his ankle really badly at Roland Garros when he was playing against Rafael Nadal. And people thought he was really close to winning a slam there. I think this is a better version of himself. He's definitely a second serve, which had the yips a little bit. He's straightened that out. He's hitting that a lot better. He's hitting his forehand better. He's changed his racket last year ever so slightly to give himself a little bit of easy power. I think that this is his best chance right now. I think he's got a window coming up. But it is running out because we've seen the next generation start to really come through. We already know about your Sinners and Alcarazes, but there are a couple others at this tournament that announce themselves. Your Fonsecas, your Lernatines. The next wave is coming, and it's coming fast.
Yeah, Men's part of that as well.
Yeah, there's so many of them.
So Djokovic, now there are a couple of schools of thought, one of which is that he has the most remarkable powers of recovery in the history of history. There's also another school of thought going, just how much is he injured? Do you think he's injured?
Yeah, look, I do think he's injured, and I'd get myself into trouble if I said not otherwise, but I do think he's injured. He gets himself into awkward positions, and I know, speaking from experience, that as you age, and I know he's got some superhuman aging powers, a bit like yourself, mate. He's got some superhuman aging powers.
My superhuman aging powers are that I'm aging very quickly, but thanks for that.
No, that's incorrect. You're looking good for your age. But no, look, he looks after his body incredibly well, but there's no doubt the way he plays, his end-range sliding, the physicality he brings to his court, it does have its wear and tear. What I will say, though, is when he is slightly underdone, when he is slightly injured, he plays some of his best tennis. We remember that hamstring tear. We remember that abdominal tear. He goes and plays really aggressive tennis. It wouldn't surprise me if he's back to 100%, though, in a couple of days. He's had the 2 days off, remember, because he played in the early men's quarterfinals matches, so he got an extra 2 days of recovery. I think that makes the world a difference.
What does that say about what's going on in there for Novak? When he does get injured, where he goes emotionally, psychologically. Can you explain that?
Yeah, I think he can compartmentalise pretty well. What I think it's also proven is that he's got so many different games. So he's got plan A, but plan B is to pull the ears back and actually swing for the fences. And he can execute that just as well. And he proved that to himself a couple of years ago at that Australian Open where he went on an absolute tear playing ultra-aggressive tennis. You don't go and win 24 Grand Slams looking to rewrite history, winning 25 if you're not strong mentally. He's one of the strongest to do it.
We'll talk about the other semi in just a moment, but Is there a need for Novak to get this done in 3 or 4? Would he really prefer not to be going 5 against Ben Shelton, or more particularly against Jannik Sinner?
Yeah, I think so. I think he knows he's been in this stage before. He knows that he has to try to conserve a bit of energy, especially if he's still a bit ginger, still a bit sore. I think that Carlos Alcaraz match, whilst it was very physical, I think he was very relieved that he got off in 4 sets, had the extra 2 days. But he will be having one eye on Jannik Sinner and seeing that Jannik's cruising through the draws at the moment. Jannik looks fit and healthy once more. He'll want to be on and off as quickly as possible. Easier said than done. Alexander Zverev is tough.
All right. And Novak, lastly, didn't win a slam in 2024. Is this the best opportunity?
Yeah,
well,
no,
sorry.
Come on,
Okay.
calm down.
He didn't win a Grand Slam.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying no. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying
The gold medal counts for something?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Look, the focus on, and I've heard this argument a lot, is this the end of Novak Djokovic? Can he have Grand Slam glory once more? He didn't win one in 2024. Well, I'm telling you, the focus for Novak Djokovic in 2024, his sole focus, his primary focus was getting that gold medal. And he played some great tennis in Paris when he did so, on a surface that I don't think is his favourite. He's gone and got Andy Murray. His focus has returned to winning Grand Slams. I guarantee he won't just win one Grand Slam, he'll win multiple Grand Slams over the next few years.
And that just feeds into, and we've got to be quick with this, we'll move on, but that feeds into this theory about the best tennis in Novak is produced when there is something bigger than just a Grand Slam to play for. And there was something bigger. There was that elusive gold medal. That was one box that had never been ticked, and that's when he lifted to that level.
And he also chases records, right? And he's well aware that 25 would set a new one.
All right. The other one, Ben Shelton and Jannik Sinner. Ben Shelton, he spoke out in a presser. He made some observations about the way things are being covered here at the Australian Open. Were you surprised that such a young guy who's on the biggest stage and gone as far as he has ever been before has popped his head up like that?
No, I'm not. I think he's a bold American. He's this next wave generation, next new wave generation coming through. And I think he's confident. He's very opinionated. I appreciate his opinions. I think he's more than entitled to have them. We live in a day now where it's so accessible to get your opinions out there, and it's accepted. I'm all for it. If he wasn't happy, go for it. Voice your opinions. Have your voice, have your say. And now let's let the tennis do the talking.
Speaking of which, is this the best you've seen Ben Shelton play?
I do, and I think there's plenty more upside. I think we're only scratching the surface with this kid. Huge amount of weapons. I love his lefty serve. I love the energy he brings to the court. I think he's doing a better job of controlling that energy and using it at different times throughout a best of 5 set match, because it is wearing when you do that. I'm seeing a more measured Ben Shelton. And when I talk about measured, it's controlled aggression, right? He's mixing his serve around a little bit better. He's waiting off the ground strokes when to pull the trigger. And I think that's only going to get better and better as he matures.
Okay, so that's sort of casting ahead. You look at the final 4 here, or the other 3. Has he got the game right now to win the Australian Open?
I do think it's challenging. I wouldn't put it against him because he's got these weapons and he can blow people off the court. He's one of the few people that could serve a guy like Jannik Sinner off the court. Having said that, I can't go past what I saw last night, 2 nights ago against Alex De Minaur. It was just incredible. This kid is so special. I've known Jannik for a long time. I absolutely love the way he goes about his business. I think he's a ridiculous talent. He's a freak, and I say that in the nicest of ways. I think he's so special. So I think that he struggles against Jannik Sinner.
So if there is any way that he can trouble Jannik Sinner, is it the serve perhaps? Like if he serves out of his skin, is Sinner going to have an issue?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he's got that massive serve. He's the equal fastest serve pace leader with Pechi Pericard, and we know what Pechi Pericard can do. He's so dangerous too. So Ben Shelton knocks him down at 232 kilometres an hour. It doesn't matter who you are. That is fast. It's whether he can do that over 5 sets against a guy like Jannik Sinner.
And Jannik Sinner against Alex De Minaur. Did he really get out of third gear?
Oh, look, I think what helped Jannik in that match was the fact that he got early breaks in every set. Yeah. And then he could play freely and swing for the fences. and do what he does best, which is he's a great front runner. It's really hard to play catch up on him. So, yeah, maybe if he got pushed, we would have seen another couple of elements to his game. Let's not take anything away from Alex, though. You know, Alex is an incredible athlete. It plays for some really incredible rallies. The challenging thing for Alex is that on that night, Jannik was doing everything just that little bit better.
Which is remarkable considering the rumours flying around on the day about Jannik having pneumonia and perhaps he wasn't going to play at all, and maybe there was a last-minute scramble to withdraw from the match. He comes out and plays like that. Was all of that a bit overblown by us, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe the media probably jumped the gun just a little bit, I think. But it's a story worth trying to get to the bottom of because he's the #1 player in the world, the defending champion, and probably the favourite for the whole tournament. So, of course, people are going to be interested with what's going on with the Italian superstar. However, he silenced a few of those rumours in that match. He was just incredible.
And let's assume now, or we have to assume, that he is fully fit. He hasn't had a huge schedule in terms of times on court. That's going to help, isn't it, at this stage of the tournament?
Yeah, I think so. And I think we saw that last year when we saw Daniil Medvedev and the struggles he had. He played so many long, grueling best-of-5 set matches that by the time he got to the final, got up 2 sets to love, he ended up running out of gas, and it was Jannik Sinner who sprinted across the finish line. So I think you weigh that into consideration. Having said that, I look at the 4 names that are left, and I think all 4 of them are coming in relatively fresh.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's talk tips. How many sets? So first up, Djokovic and Zverev.
Yeah, look, I have to go Novak Djokovic, right? No one's done it better than him at Rod Laver Arena, Melbourne Park. I'd love to see Alexander Zverev break through and lift and get Grand Slam glory here. He's been knocking on the door for so long. However, I can't go past Novak. I reckon Novak in 4.
Okay, so Novak goes through, and then you've got Sinner and Shelton. Same thing. How many sets?
Yeah, this one is in favour of Jannik Sinner. I think Jannik Sinner in 3 tight sets.
All right. Yeah, the only reason we do that, John wants to do that so that when he's right, pull it out in a few days' time and he looks like a genius. So well done.
Yeah, and if we're wrong,
also pull it out in a few days'
scrap
time.
it, guys.
Thanks for your company today. Thanks for joining us on The Morning Serve.
Wide World of Sports on YouTube is your home of the tennis this summer.
With highlights of the best matches of the summer of tennis, the on-court interviews and every day with The Morning Serve, you'll be ahead of the game.
So click that subscribe button so you don't miss a thing this summer.